Welcome to This Week on MTGA. I'm your host krowz, and today we will be covering the news, the memes, the meta, and whatever videos I have planned for this week on the krowz MTG YouTube channel. Stick around if you want to find out. Before we jump into things, I would like to let you all know that this is planned to be a weekly show, and of course, if you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and if you enjoy it, go ahead and click that like button, of course. Now let's kick things off with our first video in the meme category, something that happened on Paper Magic, and something that is truly incredible. The player on the left is shuffling their deck, and I want you to pay attention to how they are doing it and what cards they are putting on the top.
I'm a big fan.
You can see that clearly. They just took a card from the middle of the deck and slotted it right where they wanted it, and then they will continue to shuffle.
Just like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. 9 cards? Okay, I'm gonna put back.
There we go again, a second observation of that.
This whole matchup is like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do at any point.
It's tricky, yeah.
I think if it wasn't...
Well, there you have it. This is also one of the reasons that I am terrified of playing Paper Magic, because I do not think I would be paying that much attention to my opponents. And when I see blatant cheating, like deck stacking, where you put cards that you want at the top and then proceed to shuffle the deck, I mean, this is just egregious. And I really am baffled by the fact that this was done on camera, live. And apparently, for context, so the person who posted this, Stephen Mayen, did clarify that the person in question was disqualified, but that they did not notice that they were cheating in the moment, and it was actually a viewer on Twitch that was the one to catch this. So all in all, very goofy, very crazy, wacky stuff going on in the paper world. I'm sure this doesn't happen that often, at least I would hope not. But, you know, you only see the negative things because they get a lot of views and a lot more exposure than just people playing normally. So, of course, we're going to see a lot of cheating. But, you know, hopefully this doesn't happen that often. Now, the next topic is still in the meme category, I would say. And it is something that is actually affecting the top of Mythic ladder as well. And it's a bug that was introduced with the latest set that involves Ninja's Kunai and Citizen's Crowbar, which are activating for effects that are absolutely crazy and are very much bugged. So let's take a look at this clip from the Nerdy Steve. Alright, so I want you to take a look at this. Opponent plays Ninja's Kunai, slaps it onto the Ornithopter, sacrifices it, and bam, the whole board on their side explodes, including lands. And if we go past these devil procs, well, you will see that the Kunai dealt 24 damage. And if we go back, you'll see, count the amount of permanents. So Ninja's Kunai is a artifact that you can equip onto something, and you sacrifice it by tapping that creature, and it's supposed to just sacrifice the Kunai to deal 3 to any target. But here's what happens. If you count the amount of permanents they have 5 lands, 1 oven, 1 ornithopter, and the Kunai. And that is a total of 8 permanents. 8 permanents times 3 is 24. And that is why it deals 24. So instead of it doing the effect a single time for 3 damage, it will do it for each permanent that you control on your side of the battlefield. So, well, yeah, each permanent period. So 8 times 3, 24, and minus 24. As you saw in that clip, this problem has been plaguing Magic the Gathering Arena. I know a lot of, I've seen a lot of clips of people using it to climb Mythic ladder, using it to win events, and it is truly something that is disgusting behavior. Those people should be at least banned temporarily. I would say perma-banned, really, but maybe that's a little harsh, you know. Maybe they were doing it because they were curious. I don't know. But yeah, we have a response from MTG Arena. This was their response on March the 23rd, which is 2 days, I believe, after the bug was introduced with the new set. The update was on Tuesday, I believe. This was on Thursday that they responded with this. And they are essentially saying that, yeah, this is a bug in the game. We will be releasing a fix soon, quote unquote. Any players exploiting the bug to boost rank or win events will face temporary suspension and the loss of any rank-based qualifications, which is not the response that everybody was expecting. But it is not out of the ordinary for them to, take their time. What they should have done is instantly banned both of those cards. But hey, it is what it is. We will be getting a fix soon. I believe this bug has not been fixed to this day, and I'm currently recording this on Sunday. So we are we're going to head into a week with this bug in the game, and that is unfortunate. Now, I could be wrong, of course. I haven't actually played the game in the past 2 days, so I'm not 100% sure if that bug is still there. Even then, I would have no way of knowing if it was fixed or not without them announcing it. But yes, if it is fixed, then I guess it took them a while, but they got there. And if it's not fixed, well, that's a classic. Because of this bug, the Explore Metagame Challenge was canceled for last weekend, or this weekend, I should say. And it will be coming back, I believe, at the end of this week. So they are delaying it for a full week due to the bug and the people who are exploiting it in that event. But enough of that. That's all the memes that I have for today. And we will be moving on into the metagame using untapped.gg and the stats in Mythic rank. All right, so I'm going to be taking a look at the data from untapped.gg. We've got data from March 19th up till now, which is about a week. And I'm using the stats from Diamond to Mythic, just because there isn't enough data simply in Mythic. And this is for standard best of 3, of course. So we're going to go over what Untapped is saying, and then I'm going to go into the felt metagame. So the metagame that I've been seeing in Mythic, which should be a little bit different, but maybe a little bit similar too. Because usually I feel like you only get a very small snippet of the metagame when you're actually playing. And I will speak to that as someone who has been in top Mythic for most of this month. Starting things off with the most matches played, because I'm sorting these by matches so I get a better idea of the win rate. Most matches played, Esper midrange, and that is not surprising. This deck is really strong. I've been playing it, and as you can see here, we see a version with 4 wedding announcements, which is a version that I have not tested yet, and I'm supposing that they are showcasing this because it has the highest win rate out of all the Esper midrange decks that are being tracked. And, I did feel like if you're hitting a lot of Grixis, it might be a good idea to lean towards the wedding announcement version. At 57% win rate at 330 matches, that is totally respectable. Maybe not as high as I would have guessed. At least for me, Esper midrange has always been at around 80%, but I don't have 330 matches with it, obviously. But I'm nearing 100, so with that data, I can just say that Esper Legends is a solid deck. And you want to kind of hover around 60% win rate, I think, for a deck to be really good. So it looks like some people are not having as much success on Esper Legends as I am. So maybe the skill ceiling is a little bit higher than I thought it was. Who knows? I can only go off of my data and the data I see in front of me. But 57% win rate, still good. Mono white midrange, I am not surprised to see here at all. It has 100 less matches tracked, but it has a higher win rate, essentially leveling out as about the same win rate as Esper midrange. If you added that 100 extra matches, I'm sure it would be even potentially below 57%. But hey, it's probably about even, and I kind of agree. I think mono white midrange is a fantastic spot. It has a lot going for it. The land destruction is brutal for a deck like Esper Legends and Grixis, and we're going to see Grixis under this in a second. But yes, mono white midrange, simple deck, very easy to play. It's got a lot going on. It's got a lot of power. I'm not surprised to see it here. It makes a lot of sense that it is, I would say, near the top in terms of win rate. And something I'm very surprised to see here is Grixis at 53.6% win rate. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing because I think Grixis is really good, but it seems like the skill ceiling on the deck is catching up to some players that are maybe not so proficient in the art of Grixis. And it is a deck that does demand some discipline. It needs you to really sequence your plays in a specific manner. although sometimes you get free wins off of Fable Invoke, but you know, you still need to be the player that is choosing when to develop and choosing when to counter, choosing when to hold up removal. You have a lot more decisions than these two decks above it. So I can see why the win rate is a little bit lower, although it is still surprising. But yeah, I've seen a lot of Grixis on ladder, and they have not been doing that well against me, so I guess maybe that's a sign. I don't know. Rakdos midrange follows up the as the fourth deck with the most matches played at 160, so around Grixis, and it has been doing a lot better. And this is Rakdos aggro, so a deck that I actually covered recently and that I thought was okay. I didn't have much success with it, but this list is a lot different than the one I was playing. It has Transmogrant, it has 4 Archfiend, which is kind of interesting, and it is running pretty much, yeah, the removal spell is not running the adversary, which is really interesting. I don't know, maybe this is something I should check out. I'm not sure. It has a very fast average match duration, so that is pretty impressive, honestly. Average game duration. I'm pretty sure it's average game, not match. There's no 5-minute matches in best of 3, since this is best of 3. Anyways, Grixis, Rakdos midrange, I think is all right. Oh, this is the list running Invoke. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So actually, yeah, it is basically just Rakdos Invoke. I didn't see the Invoke there, but it's running aggressive elements. So it's fusing both Rakdos Invoke and the Rakdos aggro that I showed off earlier in a video last week. It's also running Furnace Punisher on the side, which is really interesting. I think this is a deck that I might be checking out in the near future, but I do think it is respectable that it has such a high win rate compared to Grixis. Now, of course, when you're playing straight aggro and you know you don't have counter magic and you don't really have any nuance to the game plan, you know, it's a lot easier to have a higher win rate with a proactive deck that doesn't really require that much thinking. So I can maybe differentiate that win rate and justify it by the fact that Rakdos is a straightforward deck. It's a straightforward aggro deck. It's a lot easier to play than Grixis, I would say. And we see Esper midrange again. We see Selesnya Toxic and a different version of Grixis. Wait, why is this? What is the difference between these two Grixis lists? Oh, this is running a lot more interaction. So we actually do have another Grixis statistic here, and this has been doing a lot better. And this is exactly where I thought the deck would be at. So I guess it's kind of weird. They're differentiating the same archetype with lists that are essentially the same, but slightly different. But for some reason, this has a much higher win rate. I think this is the exact list from the tournament. Yep, this is the list that won the Pro Tour recently. So I guess it's a better list, and maybe better players are hopping onto it. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm not surprised to see it at a 62% win rate. Toxic has been still a thing in standard. I have not faced any of it, but we'll talk about that in a second after we finish these stats. But yeah, 60% win rate, 120 matches. I don't know. It's not that many matches to go off of, but it has a really good win rate. Same thing for the redundant Esper Legends. This is also a version with loading unset, which is kind of confusing, but it has around the same win rate. So yeah, essentially what you should be gaining out of this is that Esper is still good. It has a lot of matches. It's really popular on the meta. And I think I still see it a lot on ladder. I still see Mono White on ladder. I still see Grixis on ladder. I haven't seen Rakdos. I have not seen Selesnya. So yeah, that's going to do it for whatever is on the untap.gg website for statistics. Personally, I have been playing a lot against Grixis in top, let's round it out to top 500 Mythic. I think I've been playing a lot against Mono White. I've been playing a lot of it against Grixis. I've seen a few Esper mirrors out there, but not as much as Grixis. Grixis, I feel like, is just everywhere. And I've also been playing a lot against a bunch of tier 3 decks from players that are in like 80%, 90%, because I feel like standard at the moment currently is a little bit empty in terms of player base. I do feel like the amount of players playing standard at any given time is much lower because of the new set dropping. I don't know, the events coming up, like the Explore Metagame Challenge that probably took away a lot of players potentially. I'm not sure exactly, but when I queue up, it seems like the queue time is a little bit longer, and I'm not really finding opponents in my range. But it could just be a time slot thing where I'm playing at a specific time of day where there's not that many players playing standard. So I hope you guys are not having that same problem. All right, now for standard best of 1, which I should also cover because I know I have some best of 1 players in the audience. And of course, I play best of one myself, so here we go. I should probably sort this by matches, but just out of curiosity, let's start things off with win rate. Obviously, this has a terribly small sample size, so I'm not even sure I should be using this, but we go down and we find the first deck with above 500 matches, which is, I guess I should just sort it by 500 plus. There we go. 500 plus. First thing we see pop up on the win percentage is mono white aggro, a deck that I have personally not played against that much. Actually, I have seen it, and it has not been that impressive. I think it's probably a decent deck though, because it does compete very well against mono red, I would say. It's probably really good against mono black as well. So in terms of aggro versus aggro, I do think this deck is really good. And I'm not surprised that it has a very high win rate. Now keep in mind that the higher you go on match count, the lower the win rate on average. So a deck like Naya Humans is actually in a very similar win rate, if not more impressive win rate than mono white aggro, I would say. And I do think this deck is actually better than mono white aggro. I cannot see a reason why you would just not run this, because you get a lot more flexibility, you get a lot more tools with Melira, with Alana, and what you're losing is essentially just Phyrexian Vindicator and Lay Down Arms, I believe. The rest is essentially exactly the same. So I would personally lean towards Naya Humans. I have not played either of these decks, but I have seen some mono white aggro. I've not seen Humans yet. More mono white aggro. Oh, I guess. Ooh, if you combine both of these, I don't know why it separates them, but if you combine both of these decks, mono white aggro, then it's a lot more impressive with a total of 1,000, what is it, like 1,400 matches? Something around those lines, 1,340 matches. So pretty impressive stuff, and still around the same win rate, so still good. It just shows you that the human archetype is quite good. Mono red aggro, 57%, 17,000 matches. Not surprised. Strong deck, and it has a solid win rate because it's easy to play, straightforward, win your coin flip. But the fact that it has above a 57%, the fact that it has above 50% win rate means that it's still potentially winning on the draw as well. Very impressive. I think it's a good deck, obviously. Everybody's been talking about it. And, you know, it's a comfort pick for most best of one players, I would say. Then we've got some soldiers, which is probably the last deck I'm going to cover here. Oh, we have some mono black at the bottom doing really poorly, but we'll jump into that in a second. Let's go with soldiers. Soldiers, obviously really good. It's got a ton of matches, but I mean, it's not really combining all these different lists, so mono red has a lot of matches too. Soldiers, it's got a lot going for it. It's got good creatures, good removal, flying, card draw, pretty much everything you could possibly want. And it's a good best in one deck. It's really solid. It has some decks that do very well against it though, like the control decks, and specifically mono black with some sweepers that I've been running. And you know, it has a really commendable win rate at 57%. A lot of mono red extra, ooh, way lower win rate. Oh, you can see here something really interesting, I would say, is that the End the Festivities and Reckless Impulse deck is not very good compared to just running creatures. So yeah, there you have it. Statistics don't lie, or maybe they do. I don't know. maybe player diff. I'm not sure, but I would agree that the non-creature spell version is worse than the Raiju version. So that's just me, but the stats are also leaning in that direction. So I'm pretty sure that that is correct. Then we've got mono black. I don't like this list, and I don't like this list, so I don't know. This is probably not representative of what mono black could be. But you know, 53%, not great. And I would say mono black is not in the best position. I don't think it's bad, but it's obviously not the most consistent deck when you consider the variety of matchups that you could face. Anyways, that's going to do it for the best of one stats, and let's just jump into the final segment of today's show. All right, before we close things out, I just wanted to go over what I'm planning to play this week, just so you have an idea of what you can expect from this week's video on this channel. And we are going to be playing some more mono black in best of one. That is something that I plan to do, of course, because I love the deck. I find it really fun to play. It's really comforting. So we're going to be doing some of that. We're going to be playing some more best of 3 mono white land destruction, a deck that I really like. It's also very relaxing. I like to play it a lot. I'm probably going to play at least one more session of Esper Legends, just because it's, again, I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but these are all very comfort decks for me. I enjoy playing them. It's a lot of fun to play. I'm probably going to explore some Grixis as well, especially over on the Patreon, because I know over there we have a lot of more competitive players. And that is pretty much about it. I think there will be some surprise decks, of course, but that is what I'm playing. I'm playing 100%. So you can expect those probably coming this week. Now that's going to do it for today's show. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me over on Patreon. I've got some detailed guides. I've got deck building guides, theory guides, everything to help you get better at the game and master it. And of course, I've got some more exclusive gameplay over there as well. Thank you to all the patrons that are currently supporting me over there. I appreciate you all, and I will see you all in the next one.